March 14th, 1943, 05:12 hours, somewhere outside Spitla, Tunisia. The desert is still dark, holding on to the last threads of night as a cold wind slides across the American encampment. A lone engine coughs to life. Not a tank, not a truck, but something smaller, wheeled and angry. Its rasping idle slices through the silence, echoing off the metal hulls of Sherman tanks sleeping under canvas shrouds. Lieutenant Colonel John Unmocked stands with his hands buried in his jacket pockets, watching the little machine's exhaust flicker blue in the half-light. Dust curls around his boots. The smell of hot oil and desert sand mixes into something sharp, something impatient. Behind him, a handful of officers murmur, glancing toward the man they know is coming. Bootsteps. Heavy, deliberate. General George S. Patton steps into the lantern glow, his helmet catching the first sliver of dawn. His jaw is clenched so hard you can see the muscles twitch beneath the skin. His new command, 2 Corps, is still humiliated, still bruised from Kasserine Pass, and Patton has no intention of letting the Germans humiliate him twice. He points at the noisy little vehicle in front of them. "What in God's name is this, Unmocked?" Unmocked doesn't flinch. "Sir, this is the future." Patton walks around it, boots crunching. The machine is a modified M5 half-track, its chassis stripped, reinforced, and rebuilt around a single purpose: to test the frontline feasibility of mounting heavier weapons on lighter, faster platforms. A prototype, not of a tank, but of a concept. The concept that will eventually give birth to the T20 Series, America's first meaningful step away from the Sherman and toward the machines that will one day be called Patton tanks. But right now, none of that exists. Right now, it's just Patton, a half-track with an oversized gun mount, and a war that is moving faster than the American armor doctrine can keep up with. Patton rubs the edge of the vehicle's welded plate. The surface is cold. "What problem are you trying to solve, Colonel?" Unmocked nods toward the Shermans scattered like sleeping giants across the sand. "Those," he says quietly. "They're good, sir. But they're not good enough. Not for what's coming." Patton's eyes narrow. He knows exactly what he means. Tiger tanks, already whispered like monsters around the campfires. Panthers, too. Rumors of them are trickling from the Eastern Front, ugly and worrying. And all the Americans have is speed, reliability, and a 75mm gun that struggles against the new German armor. Patton smiles, but not because anything is funny. It's the smile of a man already thinking 10 moves ahead. "Show me." Unmocked signals the crew. The half-track lunges forward, suspension kicking up dust as it races toward a line of rusted hulls used as target practice. The sun breaks over the horizon at that exact moment, a knife edge of gold slicing across the desert floor. The gun roars. A thunderous crack rolls through the encampment, weakening half the division. The round slams into a target hulk, punching a fist-sized tear straight through both sides of the steel carcass. Patton's face doesn't change, but his eyes do. He's not looking at the half-track anymore. He's staring at the horizon, toward Europe, toward the real war still waiting. As the smoke drifts away, Unmocked speaks again, more carefully this time. "We need something new, sir. Something with Sherman reliability, but faster, heavier. A gun that can kill anything the Germans put in front of us. A low silhouette, better suspension, more torque, and..." Patton finishes the sentence for him. "And we need it yesterday." For several seconds, the only sound is the desert wind tugging at canvas covers. Unmocked continues, voice lower this time. "We can't wait for perfect conditions. We can't wait for the War Department's committees. Someone needs to push a new design forward. Hard." Patton turns. His eyes lock onto Unmocked's like a man appraising a weapon, not a human being. "And you think you can do it?" Patton asks. Unmocked doesn't hesitate. "No, sir. I know I can. But not with what we have. We need a clean sheet design. The Sherman has reached its limit." A limit. A word Patton despises. The general begins pacing in tight, clipped steps. You can see the calculations behind every movement, the mental gears spinning at high RPM. He knows tank design is not his job. He knows the Ordnance Department guards its authority jealously. But Patton also knows something else. Wars are not won by committees. They're won by momentum, pressure, urgency. He stops pacing and looks at the half-track again. "This thing," he says, gesturing sharply, "is a hammer without a handle. We need the handle, a real tank frame. Something smaller and meaner than a Sherman, but tougher. Something that can survive a hit and keep moving. And I want a gun that makes the Germans rethink every choice they've made since '39. He turns back to Unmocked. "What do you call this concept?" "Right now, the T20 proposal." Patton nods. A tiny, almost imperceptible nod. But in that moment, the future of American tank design shifts. The wind blows again, stronger this time, as if the desert itself is bracing. Patton steps closer to the prototype, placing one gloved hand on its armor. "You build your T20, Colonel, and you make it fast, because the next time we face Rommel's armor, I'm not planning to play defense." His voice softens just slightly. "America is coming, and we're not showing up with the same machine twice." Unmocked exhales. Not relief, determination. Behind them, the camp is waking up. Engines rumble, boots stomp. Somewhere, a sergeant yells at a private for tracking sand into a turret basket. War waits for no one. Patton pulls his gloves tighter and walks toward his jeep. But before climbing in, he looks back. One final time. "Colonel, if this thing can outshoot a tiger, then we'll give it a name worthy of a killer." Unmocked smiles. "Sir, that's the plan." Patton taps the side of his helmet, a quick salute-like gesture. "Good. Let's get to work." He climbs into the jeep. The desert sun rises fully now, lighting the half-track like a spotlight. The future is sitting right there in the sand, crude, experimental, and loud. But it's real. And the Germans have no idea what's coming. One of Unmock's assistants approaches, still rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Sir, do we start drafting the formal design request?" Unmocked watches Patton's jeep disappear in a cloud of dust. "Draft it?" he mutters. "No, we push it. If ordnance drag their feet, we shove them." He looks at the half-track again. "We're out of time." The assistant hesitates. "Sir, do you really think Washington will approve something as radical as the T20? Unmocked turns, the rising sun casting long shadows behind him. "They won't have a choice," he says, "not after what we show them next." The assistant frowns. "What's next?" Unmock's answer comes quietly, almost conspiratorially. "A demonstration they can't ignore." Before the young officer can ask what that means, Unmocked is already walking toward the maintenance tent, barking for engineers, blueprints, welders, coffee, anything and anyone that can turn a half-formed idea into a war-winning machine. Because the truth is this: the T-20 isn't just a new tank, it's the beginning of a new philosophy. And the first step of that journey begins here, in the cold desert wind, before the dust of Kasserine has even settled. But what Unmocked doesn't know, what no one knows yet, is that Washington is about to push back hard. And the T-20 will become a battlefield, long before it ever reaches Europe. A battlefield fought not with shells and steel, but with egos, doctrines, and bureaucracy. And Patton.
April 5, 1943, 0602 hours, southern Tunisia. The sun is barely a pale disk struggling over the dunes when the camp begins to stir. Not with the usual clatter of morning routines, no shouted roll calls, no clanging cookware, but with a quiet, nervous energy, a tension you can feel in the air. Major Harold Beasley stands alone beside a Sherman, coffee cooling in his hand, eyes fixed on the silhouette parked near the test range. The prototype T20. Even under a tarp, it looks different. Shorter, meaner, purpose-built, a tank that seems to crouch rather than sit, ready to pounce. Mechanics scurry around it like bees around a hive, tightening bolts, checking fuel lines, realigning the turret's new hydraulic traverse system. Its engine hums with a smoother, deeper note than the Sherman's familiar continental roar. But beneath that hum, something feels off. A slight vibration, almost like a heartbeat that stutters every few seconds. Beasley notices. He frowns. Before he can follow the thought further, Patton's voice cracks across the air like a rifle shot. "Major, you're with me." Beasley sets his cup down and strides toward the general. Patton is already wearing his polished helmet, riding crop tucked under one arm, binoculars hanging from his chest. He looks like a man preparing not for a test, but for battle. A small convoy begins forming. Jeeps, MPs, a half-track for observers. Several senior officers from 2nd Corps gather behind Patton, their faces unreadable. Patton doesn't waste time. "This isn't a parade," he growls. "This is proof. Proof to Washington, proof to the Army, and proof to the enemy, who will eventually meet this tank on the battlefield." He turns to Beasley. "I hope you're ready to see something extraordinary." Beasley nods, though the stuttering hum still nags at the back of his mind. "Yes, sir." Patton waves his riding crop toward the test range. "Mount up." 0714 hours. The firing line. The desert spreads wide and empty, a natural amphitheater, cupped beneath ragged ridges. On the far side sits a row of derelict tank hulls, captured Italian M13s, a burned-out PZ-3, even an old French Saumur dragged from a graveyard of North African scrap. But the centerpiece is a hulking steel monster, barely visible behind sandberms. A disabled Tiger hull, captured intact after its crew abandoned it during a night retreat. Beasley's breath catches at the sight of it. Even stripped, even motionless, the Tiger exudes menace. Thick plates scarred by attempts to crack it open, an angular slab of armor that defeated countless Allied shells. Patton sees his reaction. "Impressive, isn't it?" he says. "Imagine one of our boys facing that across 800 yards of open ground." Beasley nods slowly. "Shermans would need to flank. And die doing it." Patton lowers his voice. "But not the T20. The growl of an engine rises in the distance. Heads turn. The prototype emerges from behind a ridge, its new torsion bar suspension absorbing the uneven ground like a ship riding a steady swell. Dust curls behind it in smooth, controlled waves. Even Patton seems momentarily proud, a father watching a child take its first confident steps. Beasley can't deny it. The machine moves beautifully. It reaches the firing line and halts with mechanical grace. The crew climbs in, 3 young men handpicked by Unmocked for their steadiness and willingness to test the unknown. The turret begins turning. Smooth, silent. Patton leans toward Beasley. "You see that? No more hand cranks, no more prayers while the gunner wrestles with gears. Hydraulics, faster than anything we have." Beasley says nothing. He's too focused on the tank. The commander inside the T-20 raises his hand. Patton answers with a sharp downward swing of his crop. "Commence firing!" The gun speaks. A thunderous, gut-punching concussion rolls across the desert. The 76mm round streaks toward the first target, a rusted Italian hulk, punching through it like wet paper. The backplate bursts outward in a shower of sparks and dust. Officers murmur. Some nod. One whistles low. The turret adjusts. A fluid rotation, elegant in its precision. Another shot. Another kill. The T-20 cycles faster now. 3 targets. 4. 5. Every shot lands clean. Every penetration decisive. Patton lets the silence after the 5th impact stretch long enough for the observers to feel it. Then he speaks quietly, as if delivering a sermon. "This is the tank we could have taken to Tunisia." Though none say it aloud, every man thinking the same thing feels a stab of guilt. How many Sherman crews might still be alive? The T-20's commander gives the thumbs up for the main event, the Tiger. Patton's voice drops into a growl. "Let's see how you do against a real beast." The turret shifts. Hydraulics whir softly. The barrel aligns with the Tiger's frontal glacis, 100mm of hardened German steel. Beasley inhales slowly. This is it. This is the shot that could silence Washington forever. The T-20 fires. The shell hits just left of the driver's port, the thickest portion of the frontal armor. A bloom of sparks erupts. A metallic shriek rings out. But when the dust settles, Beasley feels his stomach roll. The Tiger hull remains intact. The round ricocheted. Patton's jaw tightens, but he shows no panic. Hit it again. The T-20 loads. Fires. Another ricochet. This one worse. The round angles upward into the sky, whistling away like a defiant scream. A ripple of unease flows across the observers. One officer mutters, "Still not enough. God help us." Patton hears him. His head snaps around like a striking viper. "Nothing is enough until we make it enough. That's why we're here." He turns back. Again. The T-20 fires a third time. The crew adjusting slightly left, seeking a weaker angle. The round hits. Sparks fly. But the armor holds. A cold pit opens in Beasley's chest. 3 shots. 3 failures. But something else happens on that third shot. Something subtle. Something dangerous. The prototype jolts harder than before, not from recoil, but from something internal. A rattling metallic clack echoes from the engine compartment. Beasley hears it. He stiffens. "Beasley, sir, something's wrong." Patton doesn't turn. "It's recoil. Ignore it." But Beasley knows recoil. And that wasn't recoil. The T-20 crew knows it too. The tank begins reversing. Slowly. Then unevenly. The left track lurches. The right track hesitates. Something in the transmission is slipping. Beasley steps forward instinctively. "Sir, we need to stop the test." Patton whips toward him, fury in his eyes. "Major, stand down." But Beasley doesn't, not this time. The tank is suffering drivetrain stress.
The hydraulic system is overloading under repeated recoil. If they fire again, the internals could... He doesn't get to finish. A sharp bang erupts inside the T-20's hull. The engine revs wildly, then sputters. A plume of black smoke bursts from the rear deck. The crew yells inside the tank. Patton takes one step forward. Beasley takes 3. "Shut it down!" he shouts. "Shut down the engine!" The crew kills it. The T-20 wheezes, coughs, and settles into silence.